Okay, it's live streaming again. Thanks.
All right. We are live streamed. We are past our notice time. I'm going to go ahead and call the Highway Committee meeting to order. Start with the call of the roll. Looks like everybody is here, plus County Board Chair Dave Bartlett, Eric Kasworski, Krista Vend, and Bob Colson from Planning. I'm not sure who Preston is. But we have a John?
He is from Mosaic, Kelly.
Oh, right.
Where we're going to weigh in. Yep.
Thanks for refreshing my memory on that.
Yep. Sorry, I'm here. I'm just listening in because I'm on another meeting as well too. So I've got a conflict. So I'm going to be jumping back and forth here, but I am listening. So if
great, that's all good. So call the roll done. I would move on to the minutes. I would need a motion to approve the minutes, or
Make a motion. We have seconded.
So that was Brian and Chuck for the minutes. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the minutes as presented?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Minutes are approved. On to public comment. We've got a letter from Terry Nichols that we will add into the public record. Let me see if I can share my screen on that, just so that we can show it briefly. Okay, let me pull that over. There we go. Okay. If anyone wants a more detailed look at that, I will be happy to forward it to them. Just let me know. Now I need to shift out of screen sharing. And that button has dropped off my screen. Hang on a moment.
I can turn it off for you, Kelly, if you'd like.
Stop share. Back to the meeting. All right, on to our next item. This is all reversed from what I'm used to. Items replaced at the request of the chair, none, and staff reports. There we go.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. Basically, we're enjoying the last part of our mild winter. It's been enjoyable. We have lots of salt sand, so we are preparing to put it indoors, and whatever won't fit indoors, we're going to get some silage covers, some plastic, get it all covered so we're compliant here when May rolls around. We've been doing a lot of patching now that the weather kind of warmed up and things have been drying up a little bit. Lots of brush mowing, and they're tree trimming out on J, getting preparation for this spring's construction project out there. We pulled the 2 spray patching trucks out of cold storage over at the old highway shop at the rec park. The mechanics are starting to go through there and just check everything over, change fluid and filters. If there's any parts that are worn, they're going to get those ready here. So as soon as the weather warms up a little bit, we're going to start utilizing both spray trucks, patch trucks out on the road, hopefully hit our chip seal roads, and then some of these problem areas that just from the normal winter wear and tear that need to be patched. We'll get out here in the next couple of weeks with them. We imposed temporary weight restrictions. The road bans went into effect at 12:01 a.m. here on Monday morning. For the most part, we were averaging about 3.5 feet, about 42, 44 inches of frost. Ready last week, we were getting a couple inches of top thaw, and we were already starting to get some good bottom thaw. They're going to pull the tubes today, and I project we're probably right around that 3 foot or a little bit less range with this rain that we're getting here this morning. Even yesterday and the day before with the 50s and 60-degree temps, we've been getting quite a bit of top thaw. A lot of the snow has been disappearing. I've been watching in the fields and then in the ditches, the water that was standing, some of that frost is already letting loose due to our dry fall and our mild winter. So things are really drying up good. And I anticipate if weather holds like it is, we're looking at 40s and mid 20s here for the next week to 10 days. So we should have some pretty favorable weather here to get the roads dried up. Construction bids, Dustin's been getting all of our construction bids for the materials, the chips, gravel, all of our normal construction items have been going out to bid here. So hopefully in the next 3 weeks, a lot of bids come in and we can get them opened up and chosen and selected. We actually are in the process of doing the RFP for the engineering on Muddy Creek Bridge out on C. I know Dustin, I, and Kelly have been part of the review team. So we've been going through all the engineering documents there and their proposals, taking a look at them. We'll get our scoring sheets together. Dustin will plug them into a spreadsheet. Then we'll make our final selection. So hopefully we get the engineering off the ground on that. We're closing the engineering contracts and construction management contracts on a couple of the bridges that are going to get constructed hopefully this year. One would be with the town of Wilson, and then one would be our W Bridge. So we're continuing to move ahead on that. Shop operations, it's kind of business as usual in there. We've been catching up on a lot of the truck repairs. Because of the lack of the plowing, we haven't had a lot of major issues. It's just been normal maintenance, wear and tear, getting ready for spring for the hauling for the most part. Our big lowboy truck needed some engine work and transmission work, so that's in the shop right now, tore apart, ready to go back together here. We finally got the engine parts we needed. So hopefully in the next couple weeks, our heavy haul truck is back up and running. In time for delivery of the construction equipment here as we get rolling. Otherwise, everything's been going really good here. COVID is kind of in check. So everybody continues to remain healthy out here doing their social distancing. It's knock on wood, it's been going really good. So hopefully we can continue to enjoy these mild temperatures and take ourselves into spring. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you, John. Anyone have any questions or comments about the report? Seeing none, move on to consideration for actions taken by committee. Let's start with the vouchers. I would entertain a motion. Supervisor Maves, is that a motion?
No, I actually have a couple questions.
Great, we'll do
the
the
one-
questions first.
Yeah, the one voucher for CRS auto repair for 1,077, and then Dick's RV for 2,169.
The Dick's RV is a topper for Jay Thompson's truck, the foreman's truck. Mark had a tonneau cover on there. Jay requested a topper, so then we can kind of keep all of his equipment, the chainsaws, the chop saws, all of his survey equipment a little bit more secure. So we ended up getting a topper, and then they built a sign rack so we can slide all of our portable signs in there and kind of reduce the damage. The bottom stands go in the bottom, and then they got compartments they built on the side so those roll-up signs can go in there rather than just haphazardly getting tossed in the trucks. So your other question was the CR auto repair. That one, Chuck, I will look into. I'm assuming that's parts. So that one I don't know for sure. I'll have to check with Dan on that, and then I can send you guys out an email here this morning on where what that one was for.
Okay, thank you.
Brian,
Yeah, I just have one, John. K-Tech Specialty Coatings, I see was $14,700.
That's our beet heat. That's the sugar beet de-icing agent that we get from Minnesota.
Okay, thanks.
Hopefully that'll be our last load of the season.
Anyone else? Then do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Chuck,
Second.
second by Randy. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, motion passes. Dunn County Directional Plan recommendations. Bob, if you would care to address that would be great.
Let me get unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me at your meeting. It's been a while since I've been at Highway. It's always a pleasure to be with you folks. At executive last month, there was discussion about the relevancy of the directional plan and whether or not we wanted to pursue this or shelve it. And overwhelmingly, the committee was in favor of maintaining the directional plan going forward. So there was direction from executive that that we should do that. And one of the issues that was brought up is this issue of not really following through or getting things finished. And I'm going to share my screen just a few minutes here so that I can help explain this. So is
Not yet.
Oh, hang on. I got to push one more button. It should be coming now. Is it working? No.
Not yet.
All right. I clicked on everything. I'm going to try one more time. Let's see if this will. No.
Mm-mm.
I will talk about it. Chris, is there some way that you could help me with this while I go through? I can still continue, or what should I do here?
I'll remote into your computer because the sharing is on. So
Yeah. So just while we're doing that, the directional plan was adopted in 2016, and there were four initiatives on the bottom of that triangle. And I think that everyone has a copy in your packet of the directional plan. And then, yeah. And then in February 2018, we amended the directional plan to include broadband on the front cover there. There's 10 initiatives that were agreed on at the time the plan was adopted that were important to include in the plan. And the idea, or at least the hopes were, is that over time, that things on that they said, well, this is where we're going to start. The 5 initiatives on the front is where we're going to start. That those things would get tidied up and come off of the plan. They still would need to be worked on, but then other things would take their place. And so I think one of the issues or pieces that was missing. There's been a lot of work done on all of these initiatives, and what wasn't really happening was at the bottom of that pyramid. There's initiatives, and I'm just going to pick one that I think is going to be a crossover with Highway, and I'll speak about it in a little bit here. Initiative number 1 was develop an environmental policy. So that work, environmental policy, that's a very broad topic. And PRD is doing a lot of work kind of environmentally related, with groundwater and so forth, and erosion control and things like that. But I was also at facilities, and they are doing a tremendous amount of work as well from an environmental standpoint, with retrofitting buildings, with the looking to do some green energy, some solar panels, and there's monitoring their use of energy and putting in different controls. And so there's a lot of things that are happening, but what wasn't happening was to develop, what the thing says is develop an environmental policy. And so executive said, well, let's send this back out to each committee and bring it on their agenda, and let's talk about an environmental policy, or not environment, but the directional plan, and see if each committee could tag on to what pieces of the directional plan they feel they have ownership in, and we would go from there to getting a policy. Now, Paul Miller and I kind of tag teaming on this project, going to each committee, and with the hopes that we would be kind of the catalyst to help you guys get through this, and so staff will work with the committee, and then draft up a policy statement and the documents, and bring it back to the committees for their approval. Krista, were we able to get that thing to work yet? Do you know?
No, I couldn't remote into your computer because your team viewer is not on.
Okay. I'm going to get out of this.
There we go.
Well, I don't know what you did, Krista, but is it on the screen now?
It is.
I don't know what happened here. I'm going to, so this is the pyramid, and as we're talking about the initiatives, and as you move up the pyramid, each one of these initiatives needs to be working on the next level up as we're moving, because we want to get to proactive government. So in terms of an environmental policy, certainly there's going to be issues of quality of life associated with it. Anything that happens with the environmental policy, board engagement, keep the board involved, get the public involved. And there's a sustainability component, and for the directional plan, sustainability isn't necessarily the way we think of it in terms of a green initiative. It's sustainability that it can continue today and into the future. It's sustainable. We can keep at it, and that gets us to proactive government, which gets us one step closer to our vision of providing quality services that protect and empower our citizens in a cost-effective manner. So that's pretty much the way that the directional plan works. And then the 10 issues that were brought up are on the screen there. So I'm at each committee to help them to get through this. And as we look at this list, I don't see anything in there that is necessarily highway specific related.
Bob,
yes.
if you'll allow me for a moment.
Sure.
When we were doing this, I'm not sure how many of the members of this committee were on the board or on this committee when it went through. I think the majority of you were not. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little framing of how we discuss things at Highway.
Perfect.
In terms of the directional plan. At the time of the plan, Highway basically felt that our role with most of the options that were looked at was more support rather than directing directional, because so much of what we do is essentially statute-based, the things that we are required to do by the state, or very, very much straightforward in terms of keeping the roads running. With environmental policy, an enormous amount of what we do is, like the federal wetlands rules. We have to observe those and implement the policy on that. So at the time of the original directional plan, we did not have a strong central idea that we were pushing. Most of what we were looking at was how we can support the county to look at the various initiatives. That was basically the way things looked at the time on the Highway Committee. And I suspect that's going to be more or less our position now, but I certainly would like to discuss it and see what people think. But it's much more in terms of implementation of environmental policy in relation to the roads, implementation of stuff with the broadband forward. I know, like the permitting process we were talking about about a year ago with moving manure and where they can run the piping for that, the temporary piping for that, is clearly impacts water quality and environmental policy. So that's the framing that we were looking at it earlier. And now I will open the floor to anybody's comments, because you're all minimized for me with the screen sharing. You'll have to speak up. So.
Mr. Chair?
Supervisor Mapes?
Yes, your recollection, remembrance of how this all went when this started is spot on. We at the highway at that time did look more of supportive and to help along, because the fact that so much of what we do is based on the statutes and stuff. And so I, at this point, would basically think that I would be in favor of just staying as we are. We'll be supportive and help out in any way, but I think that's where I vote.
Okay, Bob, if you would stop sharing your screen so I can see people better, that would be great.
Let me see if I can do that. Did that work?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. So, Mr. Chair, if I might,
Please.
Supervisor Mays, I think that you're right on. When I was charged with divvying up the committees and saw that I was coming to highway, I spoke with John Swirsky and said, I don't see anything in there for highway, and I don't know that that's necessarily something that you guys need to make work on. If there isn't anything in there, if you don't feel left out, and are pleased with the position that where highway rests in the directional plan and just in the county structure, I think that's fine. We don't need to make work for the sake of making work, and so I appreciate that. I would, and I guess I would like to make sure that that's the direction that the committee wants to go, because I would like to go down a little rabbit hole with you about some environmental stuff that I think is a crossover here. So.
Anyone have further comments before we follow Bob down the rabbit hole? Seeing none?
All right, this is Alice in Wonderland here. So, as I said, I've been at I started the environmental policy at PR&D, and then when I was at facilities, they were talking about that's a direction that they wanted to tie on to, and so the light bulb went on. This is environmental is much broader, and I knew it was, and I was hoping or planning to broaden it out and include facilities from the beginning. They short-circuited that discussion and just brought it up, and so I will be sharing the environmental policy with facilities as well. When I was talking to John Swirsky, we were talking about it, and then just in with transit, there's some things with highway highway and transit that I think would be very well suited to be recognized as part of the environmental policy. So, for example, transit with the electric vehicles. I think that's an incredible piece of work that needs to be recognized and continue to be worked on. Talking and I don't know, and we're talking over time. Things have changed quite a bit. In terms of the way that the performance of vehicles on all kinds of different fuels and electricity. So over time, it may get that the highway fleet becomes more sustainable in terms of, when you buy fleets, that you're looking at things that are more sustainable. All of this always has to fit within the budget. And so recognize that. John was talking, just before I started, that your salt storage, you're going to be putting some inside and storing others. And I guess it'd be interesting to talk to the highway about, you know, storage and the things that they do to make sure that salt stays where it's supposed to go. But then also things, yeah, we did talk to you guys about a pipe policy, so that farmers could use the culvert system in the county system to cross under, so that they could dredge those drag lines and spread manure on their fields. And then broadband forward absolutely has some highway implications because of use of the highways right away. So I think there's a lot of issues that are environmental that need to be addressed or recognized in the environmental portion. What I would like to do is to probably either work with John, and then John can either point me towards some other individuals, so that I understand the scope of the environmental pieces that highway is doing as well. And then I will bring that to your next meeting. I don't know that it's officially needs to be adopted by the highway, but I think it would be nice if it was officially endorsed by highway. But I guess we'll go down that path as to what to do with it at your next meeting. But I would say that I think that it's appropriate from an environmental standpoint that highway be included in that policy. So with that, are there questions, concerns, either about that or other things related to directional plan?
That sounds very good to me, and I will throw the floor open. One of the things that we would probably mention in that would be highway's ongoing efforts to do things like the beet juice, which is a much more environmentally friendly road treatment. We're always on the lookout for things like that.
Yes.
We might talk about the switch over in culverting from the galvanized to HDPE as a longer lasting, more sustainable water movement system, things like that. Those would be the things that would occur to me.
Yes.
Does anyone else have some stuff that they want to add to that? Not seeing anything immediate. So yeah, Bob, if you and John wanted to talk about that and sort of recognize the things that we're doing and talk about the ways that we can implement environmental policy and bring that back to us, that would be fabulous.
Great. I
Does that work
will
for you, John?
certainly do that.
Okay, great.
All right. If there's nothing else, Mr. Chair,
Nothing that I know of.
it's not that it's not interesting, but I'm going to check out of the meeting right now.
Thank you very much, Bob.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, John.
I checked into Dan O'Connell, got back to me on that CRS auto repair. That's Corey Steinmeier, the steel chainsaw dealer. We bought some replacement chainsaw chaps for the guys, a saw, some chains, and some other parts. So it's one of those things where the invoice is set up different than what the check is actually cut to, one of the mystery things, but it's Corey Steinmeier Repair is the CRS out on K. So
Great.
that that solves that mystery. I learned something too today.
At this point, I guess we move on to the utility permits and the broadband forward stuff. We had discussed this at the last meeting in fairly strong detail. But I will open the floor to further discussion or a motion to, well, a motion. Supervisor Maves.
Yes, so just so I clearly understand now where this is discussing as far as the permitting and the date of application versus the fees that are going to be received. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, we at the county board had adopted a plan of getting the broadband forward certification, and it took some months for that to come through, and the mosaic permits were applied for between the time the county board adopted that policy and the actual broadband forward certification. So Mosaic has asked us to remit the difference in costs in the interests of serving the broadband forward policy. I believe I've stated that fairly thoroughly.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to proceed with that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Supervisor Maves makes the motion. Supervisor Johnson seconds. Further discussion?
I guess I'd like to know when Chuck says proceeds with that, do you mean to lower the permits to what we wanted to do at the county board level, or leave them where they are?
My intention was to lower them for what we agreed upon at the county board level.
Okay.
Since that is the new standard now, so that was my intention.
Thank you.
Do you guys want the numbers?
Please.
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. We had 17 permits for a total of $7,600. So if we go to the broadband forward certification, that's $100 a piece. That should reduce their fees by $5,900. So the amount owed would be $1,700 to reconcile for the 2020 permits.
Chairman Bartlett?
Chairman Kelly stated it very well. I just want to explain a little bit that part of the reason we were waiting for broadband forward certification was our own fault. Bob was waiting to bring it back after the county board ruled to highway to talk about it one more time, I guess. And I found that out some months down the road after we had ruled, and I asked him why he was doing that, because highway had looked at it already and the county board had looked at it. So I just want to explain that we weren't really waiting for the state all that time. We were kind of sitting on it ourselves also. So I'm very much in favor of supporting Chuck's motion.
Any further discussion? I will add a couple things briefly of my own. I tend to not be broadly in support of government subsidizing private activity, but given that we have adopted this as the policy, I think that making it as fair as possible and following through on it is absolutely the way to go. I would also suggest that as a matter of policy, we would not consider remitting any permits that came before the county board had made the decision to go ahead and seek broadband forward certification. Those are my 2 points, but I'm broadly in support of this particular motion because it is solidly in line with county board policy. Anybody else? All right, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, motion passes. Preston,
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
I appreciate your time and consideration on this, and I just want to say thank you to all everybody involved with this. And I again appreciate your time. I think it's an important project. Again, we're going to be passing by about 1,000 homes that are technically unserved here this year as part of this project, covering a lot of northern Dunn County, passing by. It's about 280 miles of fiber construction happening this year. Just as a sidebar question, if I could, for John, will you be reissuing me then some new invoices then for the 2020 permits? And then can you send me the invoices for all the 2021 permits as well too, so I can just get our contract wrapped up with our contractor to get that put to bed.
Yes, we'll re-invoice you for 2020 and then we'll send out the invoices for 2021.
Thank you very much. I'll get those processed very quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. I don't see any further discussion of the mosaic stuff at this point. Consideration of resolutions and ordinances. And back to ATVs, hopefully for our last touch back to ATVs for this go round. John, do you have anything you want to add to the sheet?
Yeah, yes. Dave Bartlett and I had a conversation yesterday. We do have one thing that you guys might want to discuss. In Sheraton, we have that section of double V that it's kind of out in no man's land. There's one section of county road and there's really no Sheraton roads that join into it. So going forward, do you guys want to have them start out at the lower level at the towns and then we connect to them versus we give them a piece of county and then they branch off of that? Or doesn't it matter? What are your guys' thoughts? And Dave, feel free to chime in if you got something to say.
Dave?
I'll just explain. We had our town board meeting last night and I checked with the supervisors and the patrolmen just in case anybody had even questioned about those two roads, and they haven't. So those two roads are not open in Sheridan Township at this time for ATV travel. They haven't been asked to be open or anything. So, I realize these clubs have to start someplace, but it seems to me that they should be starting at the local level instead of at the county level to me. And so I asked John to check the rest of them. And this is my concern back a month or two ago when I saw this on there. And I would move to amend this that we eliminate the county double V town of Sheridan section. I see no point in the county opening that up and signing it when nobody can get to it legally. So I would add that amendment so we can move forward with this. Evidently, John decided all the rest of them were connecting something. So
Each one that I reviewed has a minimum of one leg where we connect to an existing. So it either connects to existing segment or extends one segment further. So the only one that's kind of a no man's land is the double V in Sheraton.
Okay, let me do this in proper order. Do I have a second for Dave's motion? Supervisor Hartung?
Yes.
Okay, Dave motioned, Joe seconded. Discussion. Brian, you had your hand up first.
Yeah, I do. Are these all of them that we approved last month? These are all these that are listed on the amended ordinance?
There was 5 that were approved in January, and then the other ones we reviewed, and then you guys made the 2 mile, 3 mile, 4 mile, and then that's when the other ones dropped. With us amending our criteria, that's when the rest of them fall into place.
Okay.
So the only 2 that didn't pass on those original ones were number 8 and number 11.
Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have that in front of me, but why are these other ones listed here? I don't understand in the amended ordinance. These were the first ones?
It's a mix of the ones that were approved based on the old standards, which we had the discussion on, and then the ones that we added with the newer standards. So it's the combination of the ones that we approved in November plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we approved them at 2 different times.
Yep.
Okay.
About half and half.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. Okay, there was just two that we didn't, right? The County M and the County E one, is that right?
The County W and the County M one are the two
County
that
W, wait a minute.
the MW to 890th Street.
I thought that was passed, John.
No, that one didn't meet our criteria. So it's the County M from 40 to MW that didn't meet our criteria, and then County W from MW to 890th Street did not meet our criteria.
It does not?
No.
I
I'm
believe one was
confused.
too long and one had too high an ADT.
Yes.
How long is the W from MW to 890th?
I
Should
have
be-
here on my notes, it's 4 miles.
Okay,
So according to our new criteria, that wouldn't meet for that section. That one would have to go back to review. So, and then M, that one was over 4 miles. So
no, I
that-
understand.
Yep.
I understand the M one, but the
Yep.
W one, I thought met it.
Well, there was 2 segments of W. One of them does the MW to 1015th Avenue. That one meets it. We did pass one of the W segments, segment number 9. But
Hang on just one second. Just purely for parliamentary procedure, we need to discuss and vote on the amendment before we move back to the more broad things. So
Okay.
I'm going to hold discussion for the moment to the amendments. Does anyone have anything to add either for or against Dave's amendment to remove that segment that is currently orphaned from anything, and it would just be the county approval? I will just add one thing, and that is that historically this committee has said that that process, as Dave mentioned, should start at the local level and work up to the county. So that's absolutely in keeping with the policy we have been running forward, and I certainly will support Dave's amendment. Do we have any further discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, voting on the amendment. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The amendment passes. Okay, back to the more broad question and Brian's discussion. So have at.
Well, I was mistaken. I'm sorry, because I was under the understanding that from MW to 890th would have been okay because the length you say is 4 miles
Yes.
and the ADT has got to be less than 500. It's got to be. I know that because I drive the road every day, but
Well, and then we had some site distance issues also on that one.
okay. So what number was that one, John?
That one was number 8. I have on my list, I had number 8 and number 11 were the only 2 that did not meet our new criteria.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on the proposed ordinance change? Looks like not. All in favor of adopting the ordinance as presented plus Dave's amendment? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We can send that along to Exec and County Board and be done till the next round starts.
Who first and second that motion?
Wondered that.
Either I'm a poor note taker or I wasn't paying attention, but I don't have it written down. Kelly, I
Make
think
a motion to accept it the way.
you were getting us in order, but I think you got us in order, but I don't think somebody made seconded the motion.
Right. I believe you are correct. I believe that we dealt with the amendment before we dealt with. So backing up, can I get a motion to approve the ordinance as amended?
I move.
Randy moves. Do I have a second? Joe seconds. Right, I think we've had all the discussion. It's out of order, but we've had it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, John.
I just wanted to make sure. I was going to go back and redo the YouTube video, and I thought, well, just in case it wasn't in there, I better clear this up right now. So thank you.
Very much appreciated for keeping us on track there. I believe that concludes our business, unless anyone has anything else that they really need to add at this moment.
Kelly, do you want me to get in touch then with Paul and Nick and let them know that our version that we passed this morning has been amended and we're going to eliminate double V?
Please.
So they can clean that up or at least note the change for exec this afternoon.
That would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
Okay, I will do that.
And then you and I should talk bridge petitions briefly once the meeting is done, just to touch base. Anything else? All right. Seeing no further business, we are